All right, basically, and it's a little bit nicer in here when you first get it. So just so that you understand that part. The parts that really matter for us are basically there's two cleats that are in here. I'm going to show you how to put these guys together. There are a couple of different cords in here. We'll talk about what those are and how you use them. There is a flashlight, but the real thing that we leverage with this flashlight is it's also a laser. So I'm not going to zap you guys in the screen, but you'll see when you first turn the first thing on, it looks white to you, but you can sort of see there's a laser dot that's on the hand. That's what we're going to actually use for the first of the demos of this trigger. Then if you hit the flashlight a second time, it turns on to just a regular flashlight, and then off, and then again back to laser, flashlight, and off. So that's how that guy works. But the real thing that you care about is this little guy right here. This is a MyOps trigger. This is pretty much state of the art that exists. This is what everybody uses right now. There's a bunch of other triggers out there. There's some DIY stuff out there. You can make your own. By the time you actually make your own, it'll be more expensive than simply buying this guy right here. So this is the one that everybody uses. To give you a quick tour around this, it actually does have a hot shoe on the back to mount it. That's not what we use to actually mount it. It's got a permanent battery inside of it, and the way you charge this thing is strictly through a USB cable. So if you look on one side, there's a bumper on this side, and it's permanent. This does not open. The one on the other side actually does open up, and you can see there is a USB port right here, and this is how you charge the permanent battery that's in here. So it works off just like a regular USB. You can do it off of a computer, off of any sort of phone brick that actually has USB out. That's basically what's going on. It's next to impossible to see here what's on the side of this. So I'm going to make it possible to actually see these things. Hang on one second. Don't tell Tom I did this. So oh, that didn't work. At any rate, it's extremely difficult to see this. I don't know if you guys, that's not even in focus. But at any rate, on the back, there are these three little symbols, and one of them says EXT. And basically what that is that it is a out port. So it's a port that goes out of here that will connect to all sorts of different input devices. So for instance, this trigger by default is set up to fire based on lasers. It's based to fire on sound. It'll do flashes. It'll do time lapse. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's built into it, but there's things that are not built into it. So for instance, you can actually set a probe up into this thing so that when the temperature falls below 22 degrees, whatever, this thing will fire. I mean, it's really amazingly programmable. The next little icon over looks like a lightning bolt. It's strobe, and that's what we're going to use on this. We're going to hook this up to actually fire a strobe. So the idea of this is that we're going to set it up so that a laser shines on this little eye right here, and that whenever the laser beam is broken by an object falling through it, this thing fires. So that's what we're going to actually do in this setup here. The next one over is actually a camera connection, and this thing will fire a camera. Now, for the high-speed stuff that we're doing, this isn't really something we want to work with, because the problem that we have is when this trigger fires a camera, the trigger will actually send a signal to the camera, but then there's a lag time for the camera shutter to actually fire. So it still is something, though, that you would want to use for time lapse. So, for instance, if you could actually set this up, if you wanted to, say, do a construction site, and you wanted to have your camera take a picture once every hour for 6 months, then that's when you would use the trigger connection to the camera part right here. And then finally, the last thing on the very end right here is the USB port. So when you open this up, you can see this is where the ports are in the back. So, and the reason I make this, I bring this up is that you don't want to confuse the ports. If you are actually wanting to use the port that fires your strobe, which is what we're going to use, make sure you plug it into the one that is for strobe, because they look very similar. So anyway, just refer to the outside, the little icons. The one that fires the strobe is the one on the second part right here. So it's going to be this guy right here is what we're going to connect it to. Now, the connection that you use for a strobe, the way I connect them is I actually connect them to a Pocket Wizard. Now, all Pocket Wizards have this pin that's on the outside. This is an 8th stereo pin. The bigger ones that go inside of like a guitar, I don't have one over here, would be a 1/4 inch pin. Actually, hold on, I do have one. And this is all important that you guys know this. This comes up more in the assistant class, but I think all classes should be reinforcing everything. So anyway, this is a stereo pin. This is an 1/8 inch pin. It's smaller. Its bigger brother is this one right here. So you can see the difference. This is a 1/4 inch pin right here, this guy. Some people will call it a guitar pin. Some people, again, it still is a stereo pin, even though it doesn't do stereo, but they would call it a 1/4 inch stereo. This is an 8. To connect this, our trigger, it's also an 8. So the cable that you need is a 1/8 to 1/8. They have them in this case, but if you are going to check this out at the studio and take it on location, make sure that you check that you've got this cabling. Otherwise, there's no way to connect your trigger to a radio slave, which is what we're going to do. While we're at it in here, just so that you know, this, if you ever see one of these guys, this is actually called a PC. And what this guy does is this actually connects to a camera. Now, on the newest of the Sony cameras, they don't have this PC out anymore. I'll show you what it looks like on my Canon. On my Canon, and on most of your cameras, if you see, there's a terminal that looks like this guy right here. Again, the brand new Nikons, I think, have also gotten rid of this. A lot of people consider this a little bit too old school, but at any rate, this cable plugs into your camera right here. And then when your camera fires, it sends a signal out of here. This is what we used to plug directly into a power pack. So the way we would sync old school into a power pack would be you would have one of these come out, and then there'd be a really long cord that went out to your power pack, and you were wired the whole time, which was fun if you're standing in water, that you've got a cable leading into a metal thing you're holding in your hand, and it's carrying thousands of volts. But anyway. Almost done. This is called an Edison or a household. And it's just a regular plug like that, but you'll hear people ask for, so for instance, in this case, this is an 8th to a household, and that's what they'll ask for. And this is what you would use to connect a Pocket Wizard to a regular Speedotron power pack. So anyway, just as long as we're talking about it. Anyway, back to the trigger part. So that's how you would connect this up. So I would have my trigger right here. And again, I would go to this second terminal, which is flash out. So the trigger is going to actually fire the radio receiver. So in the radio receiver, the port, this is actually an older school Pocket Wizard. Today, the Pocket Wizards, you don't need to worry about which terminal you plug it into. There's only one. But in these older versions of Pocket Wizards, there was a connection for a camera port and a flash port. If you're connecting this as a receiver to a flash, you use the flash port. If you're connecting this to a camera to actually have this thing fire, this will be the transmitter. You connect it to the camera port. So in my case, I'm going to connect this to the camera port. So the trigger fires. It functions just like a shutter release does on a camera. The trigger fires and then fires the radio slave, and the radio slave then fires the remote flash. So that's the setup that we're going to go through here. On the setting up this guy, though, it's pretty straightforward, but there's some tricks to it. So I'm simply going to show you the tricks to it. There is a power switch that's on the very top. Let me move this just a little bit so we've got a little bit more of a plain background. Okay, so there is a power button that's on the very top. Again, this thing has to be charged up using USB. So if you're planning on using one of these, either call the studio and get them to make sure that this thing is plugged in, or make sure that when you take it home, whatever, you plug it in right away. So, because if this isn't charged up, there's no way, you can't open this up and put other batteries in it, whatever. It's a unique battery for this guy. It's one of the downsides, I think, of this, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Anyway, when you turn this thing on, let's see if I can get you to show up here. You'll see it opens up and it actually says, it tells you that it's a MyUp Smart. And this thing is set up right now to actually capture lightning. So again, this would be a setup that you would connect this to your camera. You would go outside and during a thunderstorm or a lightning storm, and it detects really bright flashes of lightning. And it'll fire your camera and you can actually capture that lightning part. So this thing also has an app that will allow you to control this from your iPhone, and I'm sure from Android as well. I don't use it, I just use the buttons that are actually on this. So I am going to, again, there's a set of 6 buttons that are on here. There's one at 3 o'clock, one at 6 o'clock, one at 9 o'clock, and one at noon. They control different things. So I'm actually not wanting to capture lighting. I want to actually use this to capture the interruption of a laser beam. So I'm going to click on this 3 o'clock button once, and you'll see it goes to sound. Now, if you guys have ever seen those pictures of balloons exploding and the water hangs in midair that's in the shape of a balloon, this is the trigger that they use to do it, and they do it with sound. So what happens is when the trigger hears the balloon pop, it actually then fires the strobes again. Again, you don't want to connect this to a camera for this high-speed work because of the lag time between the two. It's just too long. So what you do is you basically get a room that's really dark. You open up the shutter on your camera so that it is ready when the event happens. Then again, in the case of a balloon popping, your camera would already be open, the balloon pops, the trigger hears the sound and then fires your strobe. And these things fire in milliseconds. So, I mean, they're incredibly fast, and that part's also adjustable. So I'm going to continue to push the button the button at the 3 o'clock setting here. Time lapse is the next function that this has. And again, that would be the one that I was talking about earlier. If you wanted to say, set this up to record an image once every 5 seconds or once every 5 minutes or once every 5 hours or once every 5 weeks or that kind of stuff. You program all of that in here, and then you just, as long as this thing has power and your camera has power, it'll continue to do those images for you. You don't have to be present to actually do it, so that part works out really well. The next one over is called bulb ramp, and I have no idea what that is. The next one over is the one that we're looking for. This is the one that's actually going to be the laser. There's a couple more to these, and we'll take a look at what the next one are. This will actually do HDR. It'll do it automatically for you. I don't know why you would really want to do that. I guess it's you could do it over time lapse as well, but I don't know why you wouldn't shoot HDR on your own. Anyway, DIY, this is what I was talking about for this other weird exit. It's called an EXT terminal. This guy over here, you can actually design your own sensors to fire this thing. So again, temperature would be one possibility, that they don't have a thing that's set up for this. And there are other things, any other sensor that you could sort of imagine this will allow you to plug that part in. And then the last one is scenario, and I have no idea what that one is either. So anyway, I'm going to go back to laser. So there's a couple of tricks to this, and one of them, this I think is a little bit poor design. So I want to point this out to you guys, and you need to be really careful about this, because otherwise this thing will not work for you. So you get to the laser part that you actually want to shoot, and then you need to push either of the buttons that are in the center. And when you do, you will end up with a thing that's called threshold, delay, and frame. And what this tells you is, what's going on here is this. Threshold is how bright your laser needs to be. So if your laser is dim, you actually crank the threshold up so that it becomes, this is basically a sensitivity rating. And again, you use it by using these buttons on the left and the right. So you can see if I'm clicking on the 9 o'clock button, it's dropping my threshold down. If I click on my other button, the 3 o'clock button, it goes up. So that controls how sensitive your laser or this is to the laser. And also, if you're using a laser in really bright daylight, that might actually, changing that might have an impact on it that would be worthwhile. The next one down, delay, and this one's really the important one. To get to delay, you use the button that's at 6 o'clock, you drop down and you can see you can reset the delay. And the trick to the way this thing works, so you'll see it when we actually get it set up, is you don't want your laser beam to actually be in the image that you're shooting. You want it to be above the image you're shooting. So if you imagine my hand to be where the laser beam is, where you really want your object to be, I'm gonna do a lemon, where you want your object to be is here, it's actually below. So the trick to it is as the lemon falls down through and breaks the beam, it activates the trigger, but you need a delay time for it to then end up in the place where you want it to actually be photographed. So that delay will allow you to keep it much closer to the beam, or much further away from the beam, or right in the middle, or wherever you want it. That's all controlled by delay, which again is this guy right here. This delay, now it's set to 0 right now. We're probably going to have to change that and adjust it, and we'll see what that is. And then frame is simply the number of times the trigger actually fires. So anyway, there's no way to really set these things up. You need to just test them and know that they're there and that they're controlled. So you would think at this stage of the game right now, we would be ready to go. You're not. And this is the one biggest thing that will screw you up on this, using these guys more than anything, is that you actually now have to activate it. So when you're in this frame setting right here, you need to push the center button again, and you will see that now laser mode is running. If you do not see, and this is for all of them, you'll see if you're doing the lightning one, it'll say lightning mode is running, or whatever. It'll have, that's basically your clue that this thing is actually ready to go. So that's how you set this guy up. I'm gonna turn it off right now. The way you mount this is, there is a simple umbrella mount that's in the kit. It looks like this when you get it. You open it up, take the pin out. There is a 3/16 thread right here that will not fit in this, but on the other side is a 1/4 inch thread, and it fits right in the very back of this. So you simply screw this guy in. And then this piece goes in back into the umbrella mount. And then the umbrella mount mounts on a light stand. And again, it's got a release on the side so that you can angle this back and forth. You can loosen up this side and twist it back and forth. So it just makes it completely adjustable, because the goal in the end is the eye that I was talking about that's sitting right here on the very end of it. You need the laser beam to hit that eye. That's going to be the whole goal of this. And then when something interrupts that, the eye senses that the laser is not hitting it anymore, and that sends the trigger. That's the impulse for the trigger. So this is the rig right here. Again, to finish it off, I'm going to add the strobe out. Again, make sure you've got the right one. And then in my case, it's going to go into this Pocket Wizard into the camera port. Again, if you're using the regular Pocket Wizards in the studio, you'll be fine. So this is basically the way the whole thing is rigged. And then this is going to go hang on a light stand. And as soon as I explain how to rig up the laser, I'll back the camera off and we'll take a look at our set and see if we can't get this to work. Are there any questions about this so far? All right, so with the laser, there's also a clamp, looks like this, and the laser guy right here. And the way this works is that this part of the clamp actually goes onto a light stand. So this goes onto a light stand like that and hooks. And then this part clamps around the laser so that you can actually point it. So I'm simply going to put the laser part on first. And then this rig right here will go on top of the light stand so that I can actually point this and line this up. So are we good on all of this? Yes? You guys still here?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we were doing the splash work last week, you remember I was just eyeballing it. All I was doing was, holding it and trying to hit the shutter at every possible moment that I expected that thing to be in there. However, if you want perfectly reproducible moments where you're really controlling where that at the point when that lemon section landed in the water, this thing will give you perfectly repeatable results. And so instead of doing 1,000 pictures to try to get 10 that look really good, if you did 1,000 pictures, you would have 1,000 good pictures. So the question of it becomes, this takes a while to get it to set up and to have it calibrated. But once you get it set up and calibrated, you're just hitting every single frame that you're doing is doing exactly what you want it to do. It's happening exactly where you want it to happen. And that matters in doing some still life work, because again, if you take something like a lemon like this, the entire thing, you don't really have a hero side of this lemon. That part doesn't really matter so much. So this would be an easy one to just do old school handheld. But if you had this perfectly cut and a beautiful hero lemon slice, and you'd had a food stylist actually paint the rind on it to make it look perfect, and you glued in the perfect seed in the perfect spot, and that seed mattered to your image, and you wanted to see it every single time, you don't want to lose half of your images because it's in the wrong place or it's not correct or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So you would take the time to rig this up so that every single time you dropped it, the strobe would fire exactly at the point that you wanted it to be firing, and you would be good to go. So anyway, I'm going to back off now so you can see more of the set. All right, so just to give you the quick little tour in the back, again, standard rig that I've got going. I've got just a head that's on a stand back there that's got a radio slave on it. I've got diffusion material that's right here. I have got a light stand on either side of my set. And I've got a very dangerous thing right here. And this very dangerous thing right here, this is an arm that's coming off of the light stand back here. And the reason that I've got this here is one of the trickiest things about doing these drops is you need to orient it so when you do the drop that every single time it actually cuts through the beam. And so you use something up here to give you a starting point. So this is basically what I'm talking about, so that you can actually hold your lemon right at the same point every time and drop it. and you're always holding it at the same time, so it will always fall through the beam at exactly the same point. And you can control this to adjust it so that you know that it keeps breaking. So that's basically what's going on. This is another trick that I'll actually tell you guys about doing this kind of work here. As you see, I've got a towel that's just sitting here on the ground. If you're doing wet work, when you're actually trying to calibrate this thing and get it all set up, you don't want to be continually splashing this into water. So what most people will do, if you want to do like fruit floating through water, that kind of stuff, people will use an aquarium tank. That we have one at the photo studio. So you would have a tank on here, you fill it up with water, you're shooting into it, you don't see the edges of the tank, you just get the water. It's just, that's all it is right here. But to calibrate your trigger so that it is exactly in the frame of your camera when you want it to, where you want it to be, you actually do dry work first until you get it all calibrated and everything is going. Otherwise you've got water everywhere and anyway, so that's gonna be the trick. So the first thing I'm gonna set up is the trigger. And I'm pointing the eye across my set at that other light stand. And I'm just gonna hang this radio slave on it. Set it up to transmit. I'm not gonna turn this guy on yet because again, I worry about losing power on him of all. So then this one, the laser, I'm going to put here. And turn it on. And I can see it hit the wall over there, so I know where to turn it. And right now it is pointing right on that eye. So I don't know if we're going to be able to see this, but I'm dying to try this. Hopefully, this will not set off my smoke alarm. You guys see that? Did that work?
No.
You couldn't see it?
No.
I still can see it right now. Hang on. Oh, that's so sad. You can't see it. Anyway, I've got smoke in the air. Oh, bummer. Anyway, it looks really cool to me. Let's just leave it at that. But at any rate, you can see, one thing I will show you is, you will be able to see how this is hitting the trigger, I think. Yeah, you can sort of see that this laser is set up to actually hit that little eye right there. I was just jiggling it around a little bit. All right. Okay. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my strobe in the back. And the receiver. I'm going to just check to make sure it is firing. So I know my radio sync is firing. I'm going to turn on the trigger. And set it to laser mode. Hit the center that brings up my threshold and delay. I'm just going to accept the defaults right now. And again, make sure you hit it a second time. That did not work. to make sure that the laser mode is running. It is running right now. And so to see if it works, just run your hand through it and you can see it is running right now. So when I'm breaking that laser beam, it's actually firing it. And to make sure that my reference point is correct, it seems about right, we'll just try it. And you can see it's working exactly right. So it's dropping down at exactly the right point. So then the trick is, now I've got to kill as much light as I can possibly kill in here. Because what I need to do is open my camera up for like a quarter of a second, something like that. So that the shutter is actually open when I let this thing fall through the beam. So I'm going to set this at a quarter. Again, ideally you would be doing this in a completely dark room. I don't have a completely dark room, but hopefully you'll still get the idea. I'm gonna just see what my ambient light looks like right now. Oh, hang on. All right, I'm also screen sharing my Capture One with you guys. Can you see my the Capture One session?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a quarter of a second at F11, and my camera's locked up. I'm just unplugging my USB cable and then plugging it right back in. Yeah, and you can see I've got a pretty fair amount of ambient light in here, but you'll still get the idea. Again, in a perfect world, I would have this in a completely dark room so that I'm getting no ambient light at all, and the only thing that you would see is the flash. Can you be my assistant? No. I'm bringing in my trusty assistant to fire this for me. Oh, we need to focus on this first. So hold on one second. Okay, hold on one sec. Deb, just come here and just push this button right here. Look through my screen. I'm just going to put this magazine in there and just push the button until you hear it beep. Go for it. You just push that button, nothing else, and let go. Oh, that's me firing it. All right, so I've pre-focused, and then I'm going to go to manual focus, and we're going to see how it goes. So on 3, just push that button.
The top one.
No, I'm sorry. This one right here in the front. All right, so the trick is I'm going to get her to go ahead and open the shutter, and then I'm going to let this go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take you, go to a half a second. That quarter second is too fast. Try again. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So you can see at this stage of the game, I'm not actually getting anything in there, so I'm going to zoom all the way out to try to spot where this is actually happening. So I need to see the very beginning of my frame to see where the flash is, where this thing is when the flash goes off. All right, let's try again. Ready? Go. Oh, I'm locked up again. Hang on. Ready? Go. And so now you can see where the lemon is, and this is where we need to actually start to add delay to this, because I want the lemon to actually be down more in the middle of my set. So I am going to go back to the menu item on the laser mode guy. I'm going to click in the middle. I'm going to come down to delay, and right now the delay is set at 0 microseconds or 0 milliseconds. I'm actually going to bump it up to 30, and we're going to try again. Ready? Go. Locked up again. I thought I started that. So what I want to do is show you a very brief film that talks about sync speed, and then I want to show you a strategy on how to beat it. And that's really what this last demo is about. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to play it. It doesn't go on too long, but anyway, here we go.
Your camera shutter has 2 curtains, and these curtains have names, the first curtain and the second curtain. And they open and close to reveal light to the sensor, much like a curtain opens and closes in a theater to reveal what's happening on the stage. Let's take a closer look. When you press the shutter release with your finger, it tells the camera to open the shutter. The first curtain opens to reveal the light to the camera sensor. Then the second curtain follows behind to hide the light. Then the curtains reset and wait for you to press the shutter release again. Let's watch that again. Notice in this animation that the first curtain opens completely before the second curtain begins to follow. This only happens at slower shutter speeds, usually speeds under 200th of a second. Now watch what happens when we speed things up. When the shutter speed is faster, the second curtain can't wait for the first curtain to open all the way. If it does, it won't make it across in time. Notice in this animation that the shutter is never fully open. It just reveals a slit of light as it travels across the sensor, and the slit becomes smaller as the shutter speed increases. Now that you know how the shutter works, we can begin to talk about a few things. The first, sync speed. Sync speed is the shutter speed on your camera that allows the first curtain to fully open before the second curtain begins to follow. In other words, it's normally the fastest shutter speed you can use with the flash. Now let's take another look at that animation, this time with the flash in the mix. When our camera's shutter speed is set to sync speed or slower, a few things happen. When you push your shutter release button, the first curtain opens. And as soon as the first curtain is fully open, the flash fires. Then the second curtain closes. Normally, if we have our shutter speed too high, we'd have problems. Let's take a look. When you press your shutter release, the first curtain will begin to open. But before it's fully open, the second curtain begins to close. When the first curtain is fully open, the flash fires just like it did before. But this time, part of the sensor is covered by the second curtain. This will cause our photo to have a black area, and the faster your shutter speed, the more black you'll have in your photo. Normally, when you put your flash on your camera, the camera won't allow you to set your shutter speed any faster than the camera's sync speed. That's why your shutter normally stops around 200th of a second when you have a flash on your camera. But there's a way around this.
All right. Did that make sense to everyone, what we just saw? Hello?
Yep.
Okay, so I need to show you something else really quickly. and it is this. There are two kinds of shutters that exist in the world. There is the shutter that most of you guys work with every single day. It's what's in all 35 millimeter cameras. And it's this thing right here called standard shutter. However, it is not the only type of shutter that exists in the world. There is also a shutter called a leaf shutter right here, and it functions very different than a standard shutter. So this is an animation, and I'm going to turn it on, and then we're going to talk about the difference in the two. So what's going on here, just get that out of the way. What's going on here is exactly the thing that that guy was just talking about. These are shutter curtains that open and close. There's two curtains, you'll see. They both come from the top. So the first one, that's the shutter opening, and then the second one comes down and closes the light from actually hitting the sensor. This is a standard shutter. It's actually called a focal plane shutter because it's actually in the focal plane of your camera system. The other one over here is actually called a leaf shutter, and it is a completely different animal, and it's in a completely different place. You do not have leaf shutters inside of camera bodies. Leaf shutters are located inside of lenses. But the advantage of a leaf shutter over a standard or focal plane shutter is the fact that no matter how fast your shutter speed goes, at a certain point with a leaf shutter, the shutter is completely open. So there is no sync speed issue with a leaf shutter. So again, if you watch what's happening right here, that guy just described exactly what was going on. The problem with a standard shutter is that at no point, once you get up above, in most cases, it's around 125th, maybe 160th. Some of them get up to around a 200th. At no point in a 35 millimeter system is the sensor completely open to light coming in. Part of the sensor is being covered because the second curtain has to close at those higher shutter speeds. However, with a leaf shutter, that is never the case. No matter how fast that speed gets, this shutter always opens all the way up. It just has to do it much, much faster. So the advantage is that in most cases with a focal plane shutter, using a strobe, you are limited to around a 200th of a second, or right around to that range, whatever, or slower in order to have the sensor always open and light hit it completely. However, with a leaf shutter, that is not the case at all. A leaf shutter, you can go up no matter how fast the leaf shutter is. So if we say that in a standard shutter that our sync speed is roughly about 1/200th of a second, that's kind of a good guess. The leaf shutter, and they actually do have leaf shutters at the studio. There are on the medium format cameras at the studio, the Mamiyas, they have two different types of lenses there. One of the types of lenses, which is the regular Mamiya lens, has no shutter in it, and therefore it counts on the focal plane shutter that's actually in the medium format body. However, there is a whole collection of what they call LS lenses. Those are leaf shutter lenses. And the camera system is smart enough to know that when you put on a leaf shutter lens, it actually completely opens up the focal plane shutter that is inside the camera body and leaves it open completely. It never closes with a leaf shutter lens on there. And then the leaf shutter lens itself takes over the operation. And with a leaf shutter lens, and if you have on the standard lens on a Mamiya camera, the sync speed is 1/100th of a second. If you go to a leaf shutter lens, you can get a sync speed all the way up to 1/1600th of a second. That's the fastest shutter speed that those medium format camera bodies will actually function at. So just to make you aware of that. However, what I want to talk about now is, and what I want to show you guys here, is a way that we can foil this standard shutter problem issue thing that we've got going here. So that's going to be the strategy and the thing that I wanted to demo to you guys right now. So let me stop this for just 1 second. and go to my screen over here. We're going to go back into Capture One. So you guys can see my Capture One screen now, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. This is all about stopping motion. This is not about lighting. This isn't, although this is kind of funny. This could be one of my anti-still lifes. It's sort of like hang the bottle of wine. Anyway, this is actually just going to be about stopping motion. That's what this whole thing is about. So let me turn the power pack on. So what we have in this scenario right here, and hopefully this will not start freezing on me again. We'll find out right now. So this is my scenario. I've got a bottle of wine that's hanging from a string. I've got a card that's sitting below it. I actually have used the card to white balance, and I'm reading the white patch, and I'm reading a 248 in my luminosity channel. So I know that I'm properly exposed here. Two things are going to happen. The first is I'm going to see how well we can capture motion here at my current setup. I am using a Speedotron power pack, and I can't remember, it's either a 1200 or a 2400 watt second pack, and it's at full power. Yeah, it's 1200 watt seconds. I'm gonna put my camera, the studio camera back so you can sort of see what's going on here. All right, so this is my basic setup. Just to show you what I've actually got going here, I do have a camera. My head's really close to the camera, just regular Speedotron head. My room is so small, and I need to be working at full power. I've got a 3-stop ND gel on here just so that I can get kill enough light. And I'll talk about why we are actually using this at full power in just a second. So I'm going to see how well this actually does stop power, or has the stopping power that we've actually got. And if we take a look at the bottle, I'm going to just zoom in on it. You can see that there is quite a bit of motion in here. That's just absolutely not, would not be acceptable unless motion was what you really wanted to do. So we can crank the shutter speed up. So I'm going to go ahead and crank the shutter speed up to like a 250th of a second and try it again. And this is exactly the problem that that guy was describing. You can see this whole area on the right side of the image is actually clipping because I am higher than the sync speed of my camera. And so what's happening is the first curtain has opened. The instant that the first curtain was fully opened, the flash went off. Unfortunately, at this higher speed, the second curtain had already started to close, and it's covering part of my sensor. And the higher I go in shutter speed, the worse my problem is going to be. So I'm going to come up here to a 500, and you can see what that one will do. And you can see now it's almost covering the only area of my sensor that was actually open here is this part on the very end. So that is the sync speed issue that we need to deal with and resolve and get rid of. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. And I'm going to do a little bit of work on this guy right here. So can you guys see my whiteboard right now?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to draw a graph here. Don't get flipped out by graphs. This isn't going to bite you. You'll understand exactly what's going on here. So I just want to sort of show you how we actually get around this sync speed problem in the studio using a 35mm camera. Now, if we had a leaf shutter in the studio right now, we wouldn't have any problem because, again, the leaf shutter, no matter how fast your shutter speed is, at a certain point, that entire shutter is completely open and completely revealing the entire light to the entire sensor. So that's not a problem. But so what we're now going to talk about is flash duration. So I'm going to draw a quick little graph here. Again, don't let this like flip you out. So on this axis right here, we are going to call this power. So this is power. And power increases in this direction. And in this direction down here, this is going to be time. Moving in this direction. This point right here is our 0, 0 point, meaning we are just getting ready to push the shutter button and go. And so what happens when you actually push the shutter button on your camera to fire the strobe, energy starts to leave the power pack and move into the strobe tube itself, and your power starts to increase. And as it goes on and on and on, it starts to get, again, you'll see, we're moving ahead in time and we're increasing in power. And if you have a high speed, either a ProPhoto power pack or a speed light, those have extremely short flash durations. And so what happens is it comes up like this to its full power, and then it drops extremely fast, and it comes all the way back down here, and then it plateaus out. And in a typical ProPhoto situation, the distance from here to here is about an 8,000th of a second. So this is not easy to do on a trackpad. So does this make sense to everyone, what I'm talking about right here? Are there any questions about this? Really fast flash duration. Are we good? Hello? Okay, so this is a ProPhoto situation. I'm going to erase this part and I'm going to show you a speedotron instead. That's not only ProPhoto, that would also be what I just showed you, would be pretty similar to a speed light as well. So those little on-camera flashes or off-camera flashes, those little guys, whatever, have extremely fast sync speeds. What happens with a speedotron is this. Same thing, we're starting down here, no power at the beginning of time. And what happens is that it takes off, and it takes a much longer time for this guy to actually warm up or to get to reach its full power. Then up here at the top, it plateaus for a while, and then it very slowly starts to fall off. And then it tables out, and this tabling out goes on for quite a long time until it finally ends down here. So this is more of a speedotron stuff. And what happens with speedotron, what most people will take advantage of, is this area from the beginning right here to this area right about here. And in this space is about 125th of a second. So considerably longer than a ProPhoto flash duration. So what you are seeing, is this making sense to everybody, what I've drawn out here? The difference in a speedotron and a ProPhoto, are there any questions about that? Okay, so the ProPhoto situation, even if we have our shutter speed set to 125th of a second on our camera, the ProPhoto flash is so fast, it will actually freeze the bottle. Or a speed light will do the same thing. It'll freeze the bottle because it happens so quick. The shutter speed, frankly, doesn't matter at all. But in a pro photo, the light is on for, I'm sorry, in a speedotron, the light is on for so long, it actually takes 125th of a second. So in our scenario right here, if we were to do this with a pro photo, our effective shutter speed would be an 8,000th of a second. If we do it with a speedotron though, our effective shutter speed is going to be 125th of a second because of flash duration. Are there questions about that? So you can see that the stopping power of a ProPhoto is considerably more than the stopping power of a speedotron. However, there is a very clever little device that was created by Pocket Wizard that can essentially leverage this situation. And what happens with the Pocket Wizard is it is a timing issue. And what ends up happening, it's called, I'll show it to you right here because I can come back to this screen. So hang on one second. I'm going to show it to you right here. It's this little guy right here. It's actually called a Pocket Wizard Flex TT5. It looks sort of like a Pocket Wizard. There's a shoe that's actually on one side right here. Let me grab my other camera really quick. So it fits, this little shoe part right here, fits onto the hot shoe of your camera just like a regular Pocket Wizard does. And it just screws on. However, one of the mistakes that people make, and it will completely defeat this if you do it, you'll notice that there's a hot shoe on top of the Pocket Wizard, on top of the Flex TT5 as well. You do not add another Pocket Wizard on top of this. If you do, it completely undoes what this thing is designed to do. So this is how the setup is. I'm going to go back to my whiteboard really quickly just for a second, and then we'll come back to this and we'll see how it works. So,
oh, sorry. Why is there a hot shoe on the top of it then?
For there's a lot of things that people will mount on hot shoes that have nothing to do with an actual with a strobe firing or anything like that. So, for instance, there are cameras that don't really have viewfinders, and so they'll put a hot. It's a sort of an auxiliary viewfinder that fits into a hot shoe, so that you've got something to actually aim through and look at. There's all sorts of other weird accessories that usually what they'll refer to the hot shoe at that point, if it's not actually being connected electronically, they call it a cold shoe. But it's just to mount something on there. So for instance, if you could, a lot of video lights or LED lights that you might be wanting to use for whatever reason will actually fit on that same hot shoe. So it's just a way to mount accessories. But you definitely do not want to use it when you're actually trying to do what this TTL, the Flex TT5 will actually do. So going back to our whiteboard, this is the trick, and this is what ultimately happens. This is what why can't I see that whole thing? Hang on one sec. Yeah, this is what the Flex TT5 actually does. So it's a timing issue, and what the Flex TT5 does is that when the first time that you put it on, you fire the strobe, you fire the strobe using the TT5 once. And what it does is it actually measures exactly this response rate and this response time. And it figures out how long it takes for the signal to actually get your flash to fire. And so then what it does is, so it calculates exactly this curve. Then what it does is, the next time you fire it, the first time you fire it, you'll get a blank frame. You won't see anything. The second, because it's calibrating. The second time you fire it, what it does is it says, okay, we are not going to let the shutter open until this moment right in here. So this is where it actually starts. All of this power here, all of this time that typically would be open for your camera is killed. This all goes away. Your shutter opens right here. The first curtain opens right here at this point. But then what happens is this whole afterglow, this is actually the strobe tube. It's still glowing this entire time. And what it'll end up doing is it will act like a hot light. So this whole period of time right in here, your strobe tube is still glowing, but it is constantly on. And in effect, what this timing trick does is it turns your strobe into a very, very, very powerful hot light. Does that make sense to everybody? So let's say that the timing from here to here is 125th of a second. Well, this light is on for the entire 125th of a second. But now let's say the timing from here to here is an 8,000th of a second. Well, the hot light is on the whole 8,000th of a second. That entire time, it is still on. So you do not get that black line cutting through your image. You actually get light exposed the entire time your shutter is traveling, the first and second curtain are going across. You get it at, that light is effectively on the entire time. Does this make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
All right, so let's see this in action. So one last thing that you need to realize about this, and it's something that we talked about last week. So what are the things that you can do to shorten your flash duration? This was one of the things we talked about when we were freezing water last week in the demo last week. What was the one thing that I could do to those strobe heads to make my flash duration shorter? No one? Power. The output power of a strobe impacts its flash duration. So let's think about this. If you've got a power pack, no matter what kind, but I'm just going to use the Speedotron power pack as an example. If you've got a Speedotron power pack and its maximum output is 2400 watt seconds, it takes basically 125th of a second for that entire amount of energy to be pushed out of that power pack. However, if you cut that power in half, it only takes half as long to get 1200 watt seconds out of the power pack. And so therefore, a 1200 watt seconds will fire in half the time. So now your flash duration is 125th of a second. If we go to, I'm sorry, it's at full 2400, it's 125th of a second. At half power or 1200 watt seconds, it's now at a 250th of a second. If I go down to a quarter power, it will then, again, my shutter speed will now, my flash duration will now be a 500th of a second. And if I cut it down to an eighth of the power, it will actually happen at a 1,000th of a second. So the less power you are putting out, the shorter your flash duration is. However, the trick that we are doing now, we want the opposite. We want the longest flash duration that we can get, because what we're really leveraging on is this time, this time in here. This is what we really want. So we want the slowest flash duration that we can get. We want the strobe to be on as long as we can keep it on. So you always, 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 when you are working using this flex tight, you want to always be doing this at full 2400 watt seconds. Now, there is no way to meter this, because in this whole scenario right here, you see that the flex tight thing is going to get rid of a large part of the energy of our exposure. The camera doesn't even, the shutter doesn't even open until the real bulk of our exposure or bulk of the output of the flash has actually already happened. So we're looking again for this toe area right down here. So again, the takeaway from this is that all of your strobes, when you're doing this, need to be at full power. And then you need to control the light output either using ND gels or moving your lights in closer or further away or bouncing your lights off something. You cannot use the controls on your power pack to control the power. Otherwise, you end up with your flash durations are too short and this whole thing will not work. Is that making sense to everyone? Are there questions about this?
No.
All right, so this is how it works. So I am going to show you really quickly on this. There are 5 or 6 of these in the studio. Again, this is what one of them is. These things have been preset up to control specific channels on a Pocket Wizard. So you can see that on this one right here, there actually, if you look on the side right here, there is a test button right here. There is a off channel 2, channel 1 button right here. And then there's an ABC here. ABC are groups. So you can have different strobes that will all fire. So you can have a group A that will fire on channel 1, a group B on channel 1, and a group C on channel 1. Channel 1 will fire all 3 of these groups. This is just a way to keep multiple strobes separate. However, the real difference in these two is channel 1 and channel 2 are off. Channel 1, and these are all marked in the studio here because they're all set up to work at different channels on Pocket Wizards, so multiple people can use these in the studio at the same time. Channel 1 is designed to fire a Pocket Wizard number 3. You do not need one of these for your power packs. The only one of these you need is the one that's on your camera, but it has to be the one on your camera. You can't use a normal Pocket Wizard and then put this on your strobe. It does not work like this. This one has to be on the camera, but then all the regular normal Pocket Wizards will fire off of this guy. So basically that's it. So if I set this to channel number 1 right now, it's set to fire a Pocket Wizard number 3. So it's a channel number 3. So that's how I'm gonna set it up. To turn it on, it's again this switch right here. Channel 1, you push the switch all the way forward. So it's gonna come all the way up here like this. You don't need to worry about groups because we don't have multiple guys right here. I've got a light here that's actually blinking orange, which is telling me that the batteries in this guy are weak. So I'm going to change the batteries in this. So hang on one second. The battery is on the side. Again, it takes 2 AA's. And so now I'm not blinking red on that. So at any rate, test button fires, and it actually works. All right, so I'm gonna back up here. And do our setup again. So I'm simply gonna mount this onto my hot shoe of my camera. And I'm going to go back to 125th just to make sure that nothing else has changed. So this is exactly what I told you. First frame I fired, the flash didn't go because that is the calibration step for the flex tight to get its timing. Second time it does fire. And you can again see we're back exactly where we were supposed to be, exactly what was going on. However, now I'm gonna actually bump this up to a 250th of a second and fire again. And what you'll see is there's a little bit of clipping here still. The irony of this is that the faster we go, the less of this we need to worry about. So this is actually it's getting just a little bit of that frame part in it. I'm going to go up to a 500th of a second now and fire again. And you can see I'm a little bit uneven across here, but nothing that I couldn't fix in post. But I still don't have any of that, the issue that's actually the side part that's actually going on there. However, I am losing exposure, and I'm going to have to deal with that. Sorry. However, I want to keep going up. I'm going to go all the way up. I'm going to take it all the way up to an 8,000th of a second, and I'm going to fire it. And so what you can see in here, I'm picking up a little bit of that edge again. However, I'm grossly underexposed here. So that's the trade-off in using this. However, I can take care of my gross underexposure. First thing I'm going to do is remove that 3-stop ND gel that's on the that's covering it. And again, you cannot meter for this. You've simply got to shoot the pictures because we don't know how badly things are being clipped. So I just added 3 stops to that. And you can see I'm not quite there. So I'm going to actually start to open up. I'm going to come up to F8. And I'm getting closer there. And then finally, I'm going to go up to 200 ISO. And do my meter check right here. I'm at a 245. And so you can see now I've got a little bit of this side over here is a little bit hotter than this side over here, but certainly nothing that you couldn't fix in post, easy fix in here. But I am now shooting at 1/8,000th of a second. And let's see if we can stop the bottle now. Boom. Is this making sense to everyone? Look at how tacked this thing is. Are there questions about any of this? So guys, this doesn't just work for doing bottle swinging in the studio, that kind of stuff. Every single fashion photographer that I have showed this to ends up doing exactly this when they're shooting fashion in the studio, because you can hand hold a 300mm lens and not worry about camera shake. You can have people jumping up all over around your set. You never need to worry about stopping that action. Everybody thinks that you actually need to go out and buy $10,000 pro photo packs. And the truth of it is you can buy $1,500 Speedotron packs and one of these guys and actually have a system where you can shoot at an 8,000th of a second using strobe in the studio all day long. Okay, hang on one sec. All right, so I'm going to stay on. That's the end of the demo part today. Classes, I landed pretty good timing. It's over in a minute. I know some of you still want to be working on stuff, so I'm going to stay on with you guys. I am going to go back into my other office though, so I'm going to move this for just a second. But I just need to know if anybody has got any questions about this specific setup here that we just went through, because if you do, I want to be able to answer it while I can still look at stuff out here. Anything about this set out here? All right, then give me just one second. All right, can you guys hear me? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on one last second. Okay, so like I say, I'm here. If you want to stay on, that's fine. I'll just actually go from person to person. If you've got something that you want to talk about, whatever, I just need to know where you guys want to go from here. I know Rachel has stuff to talk about. How about the rest of you?
I have some work I'd like to talk
Hang
about.
on one sec, I can't hear you. Hold on one sec. Try again.
I have stuff I'd like to talk to you about.
Yeah, and I kind of just have a quick question too.
Hang on one second. Sorry. When I change over all of my, yeah, hang on one sec. All right, I'll leave it there. I'm sorry, what'd you say again? Who
I
needs,
have stuff I'd like to talk about.
okay,
It's Jessica.
yeah.
So like I can stay on.
I'm sorry, what?
So like I can stay on, and I know someone else said that they wanted to talk to you.
Okay, yeah, Rachel was actually looking for stuff, so I'm gonna start with her if that's okay. Can you guys stay on?
Yeah, I'm breaking down, so I'm good.
Okay, great. So Rachel, do you wanna head it, you wanna have at this? I mean, if you've got questions about your future, and I'm looking at my tarot cards, that's one thing we should be in private, but if it's something about your set or shooting, it's better if everybody gets to see this, so everybody gets to see all the problems.
Oh, great.
Are you okay with that?
Sure.
All right, so can you show me what it is? What's up?
Okay, so the drink that's in the glass currently is not the actual drink because I didn't want to waste it, so it's like some random stuff. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm having an issue. It's not going to be green. The only reason it's green was because I was testing those little like tablets,
Right.
and it turned to green. But this is not the actual drink. So here's my problem. My problem is these tiles don't go to the end, obviously. I'm assuming I can do this in post. I have pictures without the glass in it.
You'll be fine.
Okay. The problem is I really hate this like edge here of light. Do you get what I'm talking about?
I do.
Because I think it makes it look really flat. So I've been playing with it all morning, but every time I get this to go away, this is not where I want it to be.
Okay, can you show me your lighting setup?
Yes, I can. Or I can attempt to.
I'll be right back. Oh, stop sharing your screen and share your desktop, not your screen. You're sharing only capture one.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Can you see? What can you see?
See capture one.
What do you want to see?
I want to see your actual set.
Oh, I can hear. I was just going to show you, like myself. Okay.
Yes, I see you in this very little, if you share your screen, share your desktop, then I'll see a big version of it. Because right now I see a postage stamp of you.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Yeah, but you're still showing me capture one. You're not showing me your desktop. So when you go into here, let's just do that. I'm going to change something. Hang on.
Okay.
I'm just going to do you.
Okay. I hit desktop. I don't know why it's not working.
It's okay. No, don't worry about it. It's all right. All right. Can you just use your camera or whatever to show me your setup instead of your face?
Okay. I have a drink and the the board, like with the tiles back there, and then I have 2 boards on the side.
Right.
And then this is behind it is diffusion, and then my 2 lights are here.
Right. So that's coming from the back.
Yeah.
Okay, but you've also got these giant reflectors on the side as well.
What'd you say?
You've got these really big reflectors on the side as well.
Yeah.
Right. So in our case here, you're kind of doing, you're not really doing a light field or a dark field either. You have actually got a white background, and you're also doing your drinks or your lights on the side. So you're doing a white field on a white field.
Yeah.
Right? So you need it to be the opposite of that.
Okay.
Okay, so the trick to it is what you need on the sides are dark cards,
Mm-hmm.
and then you need to hit your background because your tiles are not transparent.
Yeah.
You need to hit them with lights from the front.
Okay.
So basically you need light on the tiles to light them up. That becomes your white field. But then to give you the relief on the sides of the glass, you need black on the side. So basically you need a standard white field setup, but that means black sides, and then the center, what's behind your image, is going to be white. So just bring your lights around and either shoot them down from the top or bring them in from the sides to light up the tile. Frankly, I would try to light it from one side. I don't think I would try to do just even flat light because it's really ugly.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes.
And then again, you need to keep those front lights off of your glass.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I will do that.
So here.
If you.
No, I'm going to show you really quickly. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't find my controls. Hang on one sec.
It's okay.
There they are. All right, you see whiteboard now, right?
Yeah.
So if we have camera here, we're doing side view now. And this is your background right here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your drink right here. What needs to happen from your lighting point of view, again, you don't want your lighting to be here to light up this background because you'll see the reflections in the front of this. You want your light to be here to hit this background to light it up, but to stay off the glass. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then if you see it from the side, again, if this is your set looking straight down on top, here's your glass. Sorry. This is your back, this is your tile wall here.
Yeah.
Here's your glass. Here is your camera.
Mm-hmm.
Then this is black, and this is black, and this is white. And it's a standard, typical white, you know, again, you're doing a conventional white field setup.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
I think you'll be much happier.
What?
I think you'll be much happier. And
Okay.
the other advantage of that is because that will be white field, it should push through. It's hard to say how deep you're doing. Is it root beer you're doing?
Yeah. Obviously not right now, but it will be.
So when you actually set this up, you should do a really wide bracket on your root beer. Root beer itself can be really pretty opaque, but it's not like coffee. It's not black. You can push light through it. And that actually should probably make it a little bit more appealing because if you can push light through it, then it starts to begin to glow and it becomes, you know, I don't want to say you would lift it as much as you would like a bourbon that you really can see really through, but somewhere in between the two of that, you can give it a sort of a a transparency to it that gives it sort of a warmth and a caramel kind of feel to it. And you can do that simply with exposure, and just put the two together in post.
Cool.
Because you'll be massively overexposing your background.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But it just goes really fast. Get the shot that you think, wow, this looks amazing, and then just do a quick bracket. And if you're shooting, if you don't have enough room to get it in your aperture, just go to higher ISOs.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool.
I'll do it, and then when you're done with everyone else, I'll show you.
Okay, great. Who else wants to talk about stuff? Any of you stuff you want to talk about?
Yeah.
I can. Oh, so you can go first.
No, go for it, Jessica.
No, I'm from Minnesota. You won't win this fight. You can go first.
All right. I'm just working on making those lines with the patch tool, and maybe it's because like there's not a lot to, like there's like pretty bumpy, you know? Here, let me share it with you.
Yeah, show me your screen.
But like I can't make it look nice. Like it looks very patchy to me. Like this is before and after, and the red side's all right, but the blue side there was a lot less to work with, and it just looks really like wobbly.
Okay, let's do this. You are doing that on a separate layer, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, perfect. Let's turn that guy off for just a second. We're gonna try something else here really quickly. Can you make? It also looks like you've done a merge stamp version for that to get that placed. Can you do another one? Just give us something else to. I just want a clean one to work with.
Yeah, sure. I'm trying. It's Command
I don't
Shift.
think it won't let you do it with a layer turned off. So go ahead and select your HueSat layer.
Oh, that's
No,
fine.
you don't want to. That's the one you've been retouching. You don't want to put that in your shot. So throw layer 3 away. Turn the eyeball on layer 2 off. Select hue saturation layer, and then do Command Option Shift and the letter E,
Okay.
and drag that above your layer number 2. I just don't want you to undo all the work that you've done.
No, I appreciate it.
Okay. Let's go to your clone stamp tool really quickly.
Okay.
I just need to see its settings. So come up to the top and let me see that. So go ahead on that hardness. Let's take that up even more. Yep. Try there. That seems pretty good right there. Everybody else there is okay. So you can click out of that right now. Then let's zoom out just a little bit. And what I want you to do is grab the pen tool.
This one?
Yes. Let's do this first. Go back to your clone stamp tool. And what I want you to do is go over, see the area that's red. You've got that whole area of red, yeah?
Right.
So basically, yeah, let's just start there. Hold down, let's set that as the source point. So hold down your Option key and click there, and then come across and find a spot on there that would be close to it. And just click, but it's got to be on that line, right in the middle. No, don't do any of that. Just leave it just like that. And then just hit Command Z and undo it. Okay, don't do anything else. Grab the pen tool, the P key. And I want you to start at the very top of where you want it to be red, exactly in the middle. Don't go to one side or the other, go right in the middle. Click once. And then go all the way, don't drag, just let go of your mouse, go all the way to the other end. Oh, actually, you've got the curvature pen tool selected. Hit Command Z, and then click on that drop-down menu. Yep, you're almost there.
There we go.
And go, yeah, to the top one, the pen tool.
That's what it says is selected, huh?
Okay, fine. I don't know why you keep getting that curvature thing.
Maybe it's just telling me that it exists.
Okay, so right in the middle, exactly, and go all the way down to the bottom where you want it to stop, also right in the middle.
Okay.
I'm not sure that hit in the middle, but that's close enough. Hit Command Z really quick. It doesn't look like it's running exactly down the middle to me, but go a little bit to your left. Try that. Yeah, well, we'll see how this works. Anyway, go to your path palette now.
What is path palette? Oh, I see.
All the way on the left-hand side at the bottom where it says paths.
Mhm.
See where it says layers, channels, and paths?
Left hand top.
On the panel, so your control panels, all the way on the left-hand side. See where your layers are? It's right where your mouse is. See the tab? There says layers, then it says channels, then it says paths.
I think I'm blind. Not here. Not where I am.
No. Down on your layers palette, down where the layer we just made, where your hue saturation layer is, all that stuff down there.
This guy.
Yes. Sorry, my mouse was down there. Never mind. See where it says, see the tab that says path?
Yes.
Click on it.
Okay.
Then at the bottom, hang on one second. Let me see which one. Just click on see the 5 little lines, the menu that's right to the right of the word that says paths.
Oh yeah.
Click on that and come down to stroke path. And then in the drop down menu for tool, pick your clone stamp.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Whoa.
And then click underneath your work path really quick because you can't really see it without it. And then let's go take a look and see what happened.
It's definitely like wide, but it's much straighter. And so how do I play with like the width of it?
You just need to make your clone stamp brush smaller. So hit Command Z and undo it. Then click on your clone stamp tool. And yep, try that. And then you need to select the work path again because we deselected it. So click on work path and then just do the same thing again.
Okay, I'll play around with it, but that's a lot easier. Thank you.
Oh yeah, it's way easier. And the thing is, you've got a really big chunk of it right there, so you can really,
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to copy it from like these things. I didn't even think about this, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll work on that. Thank you.
Well, the advantage of doing it on a path like that is that it keeps the line perfectly straight. When you're trying to paint it in yourself, it's never going to be like that. You can do this multiple times though. So for instance, if you go back to your path palette really quickly, share your screen with me one more time. Go back to your path palette, double click on that thing that says work path and just call it path 1. You can, double click on it and just leave it named as path 1. So that's your first one. If you click now underneath this guy, you can actually draw a second one in there. And so let's zoom into your image again, and let's just see what it ultimately did. So you can see where it went down, pretty much right down the center. You can draw another path right now just on the other side of it and actually bring it down as well.
Wait, so to make the path, you just choose the pen tool?
Yep.
And then draw it, like another little line there.
Yep. And then
it
just
automatically goes there.
and exactly. Try it again. Just stroke that. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Okay.
So you can build it up like that. There's another thing that you can do as well. Go back to your layers palette. Add a new blank layer on top of this. And just stroke a path on again. So go to your path palette again.
Path palette.
And click on your work path. And then stroke that one.
With clone?
Yep. And I think your clone was set right. Let's go take a look. So click on your layers palette. And hold down the option key and click on layer on the eyeball right there. Option key will turn everybody. So now you've got this. You can actually move this around now.
Oh, really? Okay.
And you can duplicate this.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and it's also based on the color that you've already got in there, which is what's critical, because it's actually traveling down the path and stroking it the entire time. So as you have variation in your source color, you end up with variation in your destination. So it's very different than say like just picking a foreground color and a brush and painting in one solid color, because that always looks obvious.
Yeah, I was gonna.
It's got variation in it because it's actually tracing along the big red light that's on the right side of your image.
So it's doing like a parallel path between the
Oh
two.
yeah. It's doing, if you imagine actually being able to set your source and your destination where they were and then draw a perfect line down there,
Mhm.
that's what it's really doing.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it works out really well. And I think, and so you can do the same thing. You can do the flip side with using blue on the other side. Yeah. As a matter of fact, one last thing, or really quickly, come back down to your layer number 3 and invert the image. Just hit Command I. You see the blue that's that red is now? So let's do one last one. Make a layer number 5.
You want like a stamp or just a blank layer?
Blank layer. Go ahead, go back to layer number 3 and invert it again. Select your path tool. Again, go to your path palette. Go ahead and select work path again. Stroke it again. Do clone stamp. And then let's go take a look at it. So go back to your layers palette and just click on number 5. Hold down the option key and lose everybody else. You've now got a blue line that you can use. So if you don't have enough blue to go somewhere else, you can actually just cheat it this way. So if you go back to your layer number 3 now and invert it again, Command I, the layer number 5 is still blue. Again, hold down your option key and click on the eyeball for layer number 5. You'll still see you're only inverting that one layer to get basically the complementary color.
So I could move
You
it.
can use that now for your other blue side. If you don't have enough blue, you may have enough blue in the image to do, because you've got your reds on one side and your blue is on the other.
Mhm.
You may have enough of that blue on the other side to really use it. But if you didn't, then you could use that blue to put wherever you wanted to put it.
It's so tiny. I'm trying to move it. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure. Anything else?
I mean, nothing else related to that picture. So
Okay. Well, do you want to talk about anything else?
I'll email you.
Email me. And if you want to get together and meet, I'll set up a Zoom meeting and we'll just meet some other time and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Sounds good. All
All
right.
right, cool. All righty.
Bye-bye.
See you. Hey, Jessica.
Yes.
You got stuff you want to talk about?
Yeah. Just closed it too because I'm an idiot. One second.
Sure.
Why is this so hard to do? Okay. So, so this is kind of where I ended up with a composite.
Hang
of,
on 1 second. And what do you think?
I like it. However,
it looks amazing.
Thank you. These shadows in these freaking flowers are a bitch.
Wait,
So I
run
experimented.
it by me again, because I'm having a really hard time seeing this to begin with.
Okay,
Yeah, that helps a lot. So wait, what shadows?
The domes, these metal domes on these flowers.
Okay, well, what do you want them to be?
Like, the thing is like these guys are fine. Like these two ones in my mind are okay. It's just this getting out that shadow. And then I did experiment with dulling spray and that's what it came out looking like. And I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
Because it kind of gives it more of like a glossy kind of brassy look.
Yes.
So it's not as sheeny, and I kind of feel like it helps camouflage.
So when you
more
say
so of what's
shadow,
going
are
on.
you talking about, it looks to me more like the reflection. So what I'm
Yeah,
seeing.
I'm talking about the reflection.
So it's the reflection of the tabletop in the dome, right?
Yeah, it's a reflection of the studio.
Oh, exactly. But the thing that I'm seeing on the bottom has got to be whatever this thing is sitting on.
Yeah, so with this one, it's the box that I propped it up on to get the pretty bottle. And so
Okay, I'm sorry, you broke up for a second. It's the box?
Yeah, because I put this on 2 apple boxes here.
Yeah, so show me the boxes that are in the front. So show me what's reflecting. That's what's reflecting in it, right?
Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, okay, so just do me a favor. Can you get your hands on a black card, even one of the small gobos?
The set, I've already taken the set down.
Oh,
So
well,
I gotta get
next
going.
time, simply put in, you just cover the table, the floor, all of that area that's in the front. You just lay down a black gobo, even one of those small guys, and
Okay.
shoot another frame, and it will it'll go away because you just need to hide what was reflecting in it.
Okay, because I was trying to hide it with white.
Oh no, because then it comes up even more obvious.
Okay, so put in black. Yeah, because like that's why I put like the dulling spray on them,
Yep.
but I still got that kind of like table annoying reflection. Because to me, I like this kind of like light in the flowers. I think it adds dimension to them, the
Oh,
highlight.
yeah, and it also it's an indicator that it's metal.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like I wanted to keep that. I didn't want to take it out, but
Yeah,
it's
no
just
problem with that. But then
that line is
right, so
killing me.
really becomes your issue at the end of the day. In post, you've got enough dark in there already to just sample and just use that dark to build a palette to retouch whatever whatever apple box you don't want to see out.
Okay.
Just push it all to black
Okay. Yeah.
and
Black is definitely
leave the catch light in it.
yeah, because Saturday is the day I'm actually gonna go in and shoot for like the composite
Okay.
for the olive because I'm doing 4. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be Saturday. So black is definitely a tip that I will use. But
Oh yeah,
that's it for me.
yeah. Just and again, you only need it for a frame for your retouching. You don't need it doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't want to
I
think
getcha.
about it like, okay, this is my final image. You're just thinking about building pieces, and all you're looking to do is focus on, okay, the piece I need is the bottom reflection on the little metal cap,
Mhm.
and light just for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the composite that I saw earlier that you were showing somebody, I thought looked amazing.
Yeah, that was like you have like that's a composite I showed you.
It seems to me though that the flowers are a whole lot more lively. They were the composite I remember seeing was one that was the flowers were really pretty dead. Yeah, there
Okay.
was nothing at all like that.
Okay.
That's the way I remember it. I could be wrong.
Okay. I didn't do anything to it, but because I was gonna do that tonight.
Oh, it's just weird because again, I could have sworn that like the yellow flower that's right in the middle, I remember it as being gray.
Oh, this bottle is different.
Oh, okay.
But the composite I was showing her is the bottle from last week. But this is me going in and trying to like nail the bottle and how it looks.
Got it.
And like I was able
It
to
just
get.
looks like you're on a really solid road.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. That is all from me.
All right, that's it.
Yep.
All righty. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Rachel. Is that helping at all?
Hello. Yeah, it is. Here. Okay.
Oh.
Do you see it?
Way better.
Yeah, way better. So I don't know. I feel like I'm not liking it just because obviously like I can see all this stuff and this isn't that red and like it's the wrong drink. So, but I feel like once, I do it, like for
Okay.
you.
Okay, but let me ask you this really quickly, because a lot of those issues that you don't like, we could probably mitigate somewhat. What lens are you using right now? Looks like a 60-57?
It's I have a 24-70, but it's a zoom.
24-70. Can you?
I also have an 85 prime.
Perfect. Can you throw your 85 prime on there really quick?
Yes, and I never use it, so that's exciting.
Oh, come on. You're killing me.
Sorry, I have a mirrorless camera and not mirrorless lenses, so I have to switch the adapter. There we go. Okay. Okay, we're back.
All right, good.
Before this summer, I had a Rebel T7i or something. So I made like a very large jump. And I was like, I'm gonna get 2 lenses because I wanted a zoom and then a portrait. So I got the 85 and I was gonna use it for senior pictures this summer, but then I found that like it was just easier not to, which I feel like is a mistake. So I haven't used it. So this is very exciting.
This is very exciting.
My hundreds of dollars that have been sitting in my camera bag for no reason.
Yeah, not like that. You have a beautiful lens. So let's see what it does.
Okay. Oh wow, I'm very me about to try to zoom. It doesn't do that.
It doesn't zoom, and don't come out too much. I'm trying to stay in tight on this.
Okay. Currently, it's like cutting the whole thing off. There we go.
Well, right off the bat, you've eliminated all of that reflection issue that you were having problems with on the floor in the front.
Yeah.
And the only thing that is missing here is a little bit of one of those tiles, which would be an easy fix.
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason you're shooting this horizontally?
I tried to do it the other way before and I just didn't like it, but it also could have been because I wasn't fully like set up yet. I just felt like the glass was so tall and it was like too close and too
Okay, so
it's just boring. I felt like.
Let's try something really quickly, but I think you're definitely on the right track, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, the lighting is a gazillion times better.
Mm-hmm. And I think this right here is much better too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it really makes it feel like glass, and it's not really ugly lit from the front. Can you give me a reading on? Just hover your cursor over the background part. Yeah, right in there. You still seem like you're underexposed to me. Can you go? Let's just change it with your f-stop because you're stopped way down. You don't need to be that far down probably. Just open it up a third or 2/3 and let's just see what happens.
Like you want 18 or something?
Well, let's try. We'll try one, and if it doesn't work, we'll try the next one. And hover over it again. So yeah, you're still underexposed.
Yeah.
Let's do another third. So now this is starting to actually, yeah, because you're reading, your numbers are fine in here. You're holding detail in there. I don't know what your screen is showing you, but this is also now starting to become a little bit more the way I tend to think of what's the name, the 11 on?
11 City.
Yeah, 11 City. Don't you think of that place as really sort of more bright and airy and friendly and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, so do I. So that would be a possibility right there. But let's try this. Shoot a vertical for me really quick, will you? Is it easy to set up?
I'm gonna have to switch my
No, never mind. Don't worry. We'll just crop it. Go back to your horizontal again. I'll just show it to you in a crop. It'll be easier. There's no reason to set it up. We'll just see if we like it or not. Okay, and then let's crop this guy. Can you go up to the crop tool and click on the drop-down menu? Yeah, and then do add aspect ratio. And we're going to name this US Magazine. So we're going to resize this for a magazine ad for the United States. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, so, and the value you want to type in there is 825 by 1087. What that really is 8¼ inches by 10 7/8, but you can't put decimals in there.
I remember you were telling Ellie about it.
Yeah, and then let's come down just on your image and just simply start to click and drag out.
Like anywhere?
Yep, just start to click and drag down. It'll change its scaling.
Okay.
Good, and then you can actually come to that top, yep, and don't center it. Let's make it as big as you can. So come to your upper left corner and drag it all the way up, good. And then let's kick it, oh yeah, I would go the other direction. I would just set it off center a little bit. Keep going a little bit more, right there, good, stop. Just to see what this really looks like, go up to your preferences for Capture One. So up to the, come down to preferences.
Oh, and then the slider thing.
Yeah, and it's going to be under crop, and then take the opacity all the way to the right. Exactly. You can always come back and change this if you don't like it that way. But for me, this now begins to be something that actually, you know, starts to, you know what I'm saying? It just, I don't know if you want to keep it horizontal, that's fine. This strikes me as more, I mean, the glass is really the hero. Everything about it's the hero.
Yeah.
You sort of understand where that's coming from?
And I'm also gonna make this a root beer float. So I think once I have like the ice cream and I have a fun straw to put in it and like stuff like that, it'll be more.
Yeah. Yeah.
A glass sitting there.
Cool. So to get rid of the crop temporarily, simply hover down in an area where it's not inside the crop, exactly, no, right where you were, and just click once and it gets rid of it.
Cool.
So you should still keep working along with your framing like this, just to make sure. This is giving you a lot of room around to crop with, which is a solid thing. Can you show me your set one more time? I just want to know where your lighting is right now.
You think I should shoot horizontal and then just crop it?
I do.
Okay. And I can do that US crop or US mag in Lightroom too, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
just do the same thing.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's the same ratio, 8¼ by 10 7/8.
Cool. Okay. Cords everywhere.
Yeah, no.
So we have camera on this side.
Yep.
There's a light coming over, but not hitting the glass. And then on this side, there's a light like peeking through. Sorry, my cord stuff. A light like peeking through because I was finding that side was too dark. But it's lower than the other.
Yeah, got it. Can you do me a favor and just turn the one that you're right next to off for a second? Let me just see.
Yep. Ooh.
And show me your set again one more time.
So that light that we just turned off is over there.
Right.
And then there's this one over.
Okay. So you can get back to this really easy. I just want to see a couple of other things really quickly. Are you up for that?
Of course.
Okay, so the card that's on the left of your set right now, just take it down for a second.
The what?
The black card that's on the left side of your set right now, just take it down for a second.
By the light that's on.
Yeah, just set it down somewhere. And then how far can you get your light away from your set? I want to keep the same angle, but I want to get away from it.
Well, currently it's like very close. I can pull it a couple feet probably.
As far away as you can get it. Can you go to the side of the room?
Yes.
Again, keep the same angle that you got. You just need to get way the hell away.
Okay, I think this is as far as I can go.
Okay, that's fine.
It's probably like 3 feet now.
Let's just see what you got. Can you show it to me with your camera? Just show me where you're at and all of
My
this.
boards are everywhere.
So can you go on, why can't you go further? Why can't you go back like where the furniture is?
It's the chairs, like a couch, like a Chase lounge thing.
Got it. Can you go behind the Chase Lounge?
I can try.
I mean, I really want distance.
Okay, let's try. I think we're just gonna take it apart. Okay.
All right, is it pointing at the wall?
What?
Is it pointing at the wall? Is it sort of on the same angle as it was in the beginning? But
Yeah.
just, okay, fine. Let's knock a frame off and see what it looks like.
I also just took apart my couch. My
Anything
roommate.
for your art.
What are you doing? Oh.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Looks like we're about 10 stops under. Is your light, can you crank your light up any higher power?
Yeah.
Take it all the way up.
Okay. Since it's farther back, should I make it higher?
Possibly. Let's just look and see where we're at. You may not like this at all. So, there's no point in spending a lot of time if you're not going to like it.
Okay.
Okay, so now, Mark, let's just try to get a guesstimate about how much we need to change this. So go to the exposure tab in Capture One. It's the one that looks like a histogram at the top. Yeah, the little mountain. Click on that and come down to your exposure slider, sort of in the middle, and start to crank to the right. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Slow down. Stop right about there-ish. And let's read the white foam that's in the glass right now. Just give me an idea of what that reading is. The whitest part of it, the brightest part of it. No, it's going to be on the left edge. Right there. So that's a 246. That's right where you want to be. So that's a 2-stop exposure. So double click on the exposure thing to zero it back out. Go back to your camera and let's go to a 400 ISO. If you want to stay at 16, that's fine. Just go to a 400 ISO and knock another one off. So then this to me starts to look a little bit more like light coming in through a window. You see and the reason I pushed it so far back is look at your light fall off right now. It's non-existent. If you go back, hold down your command key, the key just to the left of your keyboard, and click back 2 frames. Click on the last version that we actually had of this. You see, you've got fall off that's actually happening on the ones on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And I mean the left-hand side. But because you pulled that light so far away, you're getting no fall off at all. So this is actually becoming a little bit more the way daylight would really work.
Yeah. I like this so much better.
Okay, now the other thing about the black cards is that you've got the black cards as negative fills. They don't need to be that. They actually need to go flat. They need to go on the same plane as the tile wall. So show me your set again really quick. We can fix it and then I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
So the one card that you took away,
Yep.
it goes back on your set, but actually you still got diffusion material behind your, behind the tile.
Yep.
Cover that with your black card. It goes on that very same line. So now, one last trick. Let's go back to that exposure slider and grab your Kelvin slider. It's at the top, and take it to the right. Keep going. Stop. It may be too warm. I'm just thinking, again, it's a low light. It's sunlight coming in through the window. I mean, that's kind of what I'm feeling, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try one last thing. Do you have any other large glass object anywhere
Yes.
in your house?
I actually have another one of these.
Perfect.
I put it in the freezer so my ice cream won't melt as fast.
Oh, do you have anything that's that size but that's not frosted? Because right now we need something that's clear.
Yes. This has bubbles on it.
That's okay. We'll see what it looks like. Do you have more than one of those?
Yeah.
Can you grab the other one?
I have like 4.
Okay, grab all 4. Perfect. So just to the left side of your frame, set 2 of those glasses down so that they essentially break up the light that's coming in on your image. So, but you need it as close to the edge of your frame as you can get it. And set them upside down.
All right.
Can you show it to me really quickly with your computer? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So that's really close to the edge of your frame of your image, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then set the other 2 glasses on top of them.
Hope I don't have broken glass.
I hope you don't either. Again, be careful and knock off a frame. Let's see what it looks like. So you see what this is beginning to do now is break up that, almost like the solid line better than the breaking up line part of it all. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I like what it's doing in the glass here, but I think this is cooler with it a straight line.
I agree. I agree with that completely. So,
Could
yeah.
I pause it then?
But this is the trick then that you can begin to play now. You can actually do, so do you have anything that's solid?
What, like a glass? Like a
No, like something like I need something that's more black and solid. Like I want to break up the light some. I want to stick something in the path of the light that throws a shadow in the background or that does screw something up.
like I have other boards.
Let's try another board.
Okay. I can yeah. Actually maybe not. I can hear it. Will the box work?
Let's see what you got. Sure.
Okay.
And just stand it upright so that it interferes with your light. You can take those glasses out because that's got me nervous.
Yeah, me too.
But so set the board up so it's so that the narrow side is facing the glass. We don't want to kill all your light. I'm just trying to throw something in to interfere with it a little bit. So yeah, well, just so the edge. So you're doing more like, yeah, the edge like that is what's going in.
I might have to hold it, but.
You know, just try. I'm just, you know, we're just sort of like playing at this stage of the game to see what ultimately things do. So that's just killing all the light on your on the you know, the glass guy as well. So I'm not sure that's really helping you at all. But I think in a way where we're at now, just with that sort of like light streaking up on the bottom starts to become really interesting.
Yeah.
So let's go back 2 frames to the one that actually looked really pretty good. Probably that guy right there. I think that's your sort of most successful to date.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got nothing in it. Let's try one more. Can you get just hover over the tile in the background and let me see what it's reading and the hotter spot below it. Let's just go back to your camera. Let's keep all the interferers out and go back to your camera and let's open up a full stop. So take it to either go to 800 ISO or to F11, either one. And do another one. That's a little too blown out.
Can we go to
F5.
640?
Try it.
Nope, just kidding.
Ambient light check. What do you think?
I mean, definitely better.
Then let's go the opposite direction. Go from your 640 down. Go back to, let's try 320. That just seems too gray, don't you think?
Yeah, I like the bright, bright
I
one.
think the bright is where you need to go with this guy. And again, I think I would pump in a little bit of warmth in that.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be anywhere near as much as we did before. But yeah, I mean,
Bless you.
also, I think what's really throwing us is the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you're getting into a range here that's close enough that you can actually begin to sort of experiment with that part. But you can see that getting that light as far away as you can, it kills that fall off so you don't have a really hot left side and a really dark right side. You want it to be more even across the back. That's the only thing that, if you're emulating daylight, that would explain that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, me too. Also, if you're curious, that was pink before. Like literally pink, and the tabs turned it blue. So hopefully that doesn't happen with the root beer. I think I'm gonna take some without them first, and then if I need it, I'll add it.
Yeah, all that makes sense. Again, this is one of those cases where you want to shoot is, again, keep that camera frozen. You want to shoot every possible variation. So once you get the shot that you love, start to pull things out of your set and just shoot blanks of your set and all that kind of stuff to help you in retouching.
Yeah. And I'm also going to do, at the very end, I'm going to do some glycerin on the glass. But I think I should do that last, right?
Probably.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Cool. Thank you very much.
It sounds like you're on a good road.
Very helpful. Also, wait, I have a really quick question.
Sure.
Unrelated. When you edit, how bright is your screen?
My screen's calibrated, and that's the only way you can tell. You've got to use hardware calibration to set the brightness.
Okay.
But what I can tell you is that if you click on the little buttons so I can see it on your screen right now. Hit your bright or dim button on your screen.
I'm like almost up all the way.
Yeah, you need to be. Start to come down. I'll tell you. I mean, the range you probably will end up with. Keep going. Right around in there, maybe up somewhere in there is usually where you'll end up.
So like what happens if I totally can't see that right now?
You can't see anything?
Like barely. Like I have very bad eyesight. Usually I wear less.
You're also in a really bright room right now.
That's true.
That's another problem. So in that case, you've got to crank it up to the point that you can see it, that you can work on it, right?
Yeah.
But then it also sounds like you need to take retouching with me. And
I am.
There you go.
Next semester and assisting. I'm very excited.
You will learn how to deal with all of this because this is a huge problem because you're being lied to. Your screen is lying to you. I'm looking at your numbers right now. That's the only thing I'm going off of because I can't trust the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because every time I go to edit something, I wonder. And then I'm like, I know I'm not doing it right. I just don't know how to fix it.
The first 2 classes next semester will change your life.
I'm sure. I'm very excited.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
Nope, I'm good. I'll probably email you though
That's
as
fine.
I do this.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
See ya.
Have a good week.
You too.